Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Morning.
I'm still a little nervous. I always get nervous at the first 5 minutes of the presentation, but thankfully for me, then I'm going to switch over to Hendrikus, so it will just be fine. So, we're going to present about automation deployments with open source tooling. And just to give you a small background information, I did a whole automated deployment project at a customer site, which was an enterprise level infrastructure, and they told me that they wanted to make sure that they had the right tooling, so they decided to go for Microsoft System Center. Sweet.
Sweet.
So we had a conversation at the bar one night, and well, I challenged Hendrikus to show me the open source variants that are out there, and that's why we're starting this presentation today. Good morning. So, who am I? Well, for those of you that do not already know me, my name is Esther Bartel. I work for Pepperbyte, small company in the Netherlands, consultancy firm, and well, I've been in IT way too long already, I think. And I'm very proud to say, as of this year, I'm one of the CTPs. And I think that had something to do with writing a XenApp book. So that's a small introduction of me. So I think you can introduce yourself.
Yes. My name is Hendrikus Kramer. Very Dutch name for those 10 plus years in consultancy industry, working for Pepperbyte also as a technical consultant. No CTP, not writing a book, but I hope I can enjoy you with this presentation. So, and well, to call me a puppet expert, but I'm trying to. Please read my blog, puppetblog.nl. I blogged well, a little bit about the Puppet, how to implement it, how to install it, some scripts, some cool features, and the rest.
Yeah, shall I pick it up?
Will come later.
Well, as I mentioned, I challenged Hendrikus to show me some open source tooling. I think I pressed the button. Open source tooling solutions for automatic deployments of infrastructure environments. And if we're talking about automation, a lot of people always throw in orchestration as well. So I figured, just to make sure that we all are starting from the same definitions, I'll show you our definitions of automation and orchestration first. And I think another big theme currently is lifecycle management. So how can automation help you with your lifecycle management? So that's what we're going to focus on. And as mentioned, we are focusing on open source tooling that will assist you with your automation process. And as I like to remind myself of the important information that I want to share with you, I added some little notes into the presentations to ensure that I'm not forgetting the important messages that we want to share with you. So, automation versus orchestration. In my opinion, automation and orchestration are two completely different disciplines, themes, or way of working, so to speak. And to make sure that we're all on the same level. For me, orchestration is much more about the automation or getting the whole workflow into a diagram or a process model, which covers a lot of more systems and disciplines or techniques than just one small task, which for me is more what automation is all about. Just getting that one task of the entire workflow into an automated task. So for me, automation will always be key to orchestration. So orchestration is the overall process, and automation is just one part of it. And to put it in a different view, if we are talking about a workflow, for me, orchestration will define the entire workflow, showing us all the different tasks that we have to perform to deploy a system and to ensure all the required software is installed, where automation just focuses on one task in that entire workflow at a time and describes or implements an automated way of performing that tasks. So this allows us for orchestration to also include manual tasks or just authorization tasks within the entire workflow. But for the focus of this presentation, automation just focuses on those tasks that we can automate at least. And currently, or I think most of us in a consulting environment or at corporate environments have the task nowadays to provide automation for either infrastructure as a service, the platform as a service, and I think even software as a service or the application layer, as I normally say. So for me, orchestration is the glue that gets it all together, while we can focus with automation on each different level of the entire service landscape. So trying to figure out which techniques we normally use at each level. Well, I think most of us know that we are using templates or image files when we are talking about infrastructure and infrastructure deployment. We're more focused on scripting our software deployment and configurations of servers at a platform level. And well, to be honest, the software as a service or the application layer is still a very shady area for me. But well, I think that's focused on packaging your applications and deploying them. And like I mentioned before, orchestration will provide me with the workflows to understand all the different tasks that we have to perform. And as I mentioned, open source tooling, well, I think I selected a few very well-known open source tooling that can help us at each level of our services to support automated tasks. And like I mentioned, some important notes. For this presentation, we decided to focus more on the infrastructure layer and the platform layer, because that's where most of our current jobs and assignments are focused on. So that's a very comfortable area. So, one more slide. Lifecycle management. As I mentioned in the introduction, I think lifecycle management is one of the main processes that we have to keep in check in order to be able to manage and control our infrastructure environment. So to ensure that we are going through each phase of the lifecycle management and match it to an open source tooling that can help us with automation, I will use this process slide or this image to guide us through each and every phase. Or at least, well,
we try to.
Hendrikus will guide us through each and every phase. Yeah. So we're going to focus on provisioning, configuration, monitoring, and managing your servers, just to keep it all in a very well-known area for us all. And what I do believe is that, once again, lifecycle management is more focused on the workflows. How are we going to get our servers through each lifecycle phase? And we'll use automation to support us and make sure that we're having the easy life, and we'll have some time to do fun stuff as well. So, you want to kick it off?
Yes, please. So, I decided to, there are a lot of open source tooling nowadays, like Puppet, Chef, Juju. Primarily, I focus today on Puppet from Puppet Labs. Razor Server, also products started with Puppet Labs. To give you one product which can do the complete automation from bare metal deployments to software deployments and desired state configurations.
Does anyone know the products that Hendrikus is talking about? Does anyone have experience with Puppet or Razor?
Chef? No? Cool.
Okay, we have one expert in the room. And Hendrikus.
Yeah.
Okay, no, but that's just to make sure that we're not skipping through the good stuff and explaining it correctly.
Well, because Puppet open source doesn't have a web interface, I use Deformen to provide a web interface. Deformen is open source web interface to configure and manage your Puppet infrastructure. And Razor Server is the tooling to provide a deployment, so the bare metal deployments.
Yeah,
Razor Server can...
I'm sorry, the reason why we need Razor is that Puppet uses a server and agent construction.
Yep.
So you're always stuck that the agent has to be on the server before you can get all your Puppet automated tasks up and running. Razor allows us to use bare metal to get to the bare metal deployment as well, to automate that by ensuring that, well, he'll get to the details later on, but ensuring that we can start with bare metal deployment, get our image that has the Puppet agent in it up and ready on the server, and have the entire process automated.
Because most of you are working with Windows, I stated that the Windows is currently in alpha state because of the injection of Puppet agents into the Windows image. So it's a bit buggy, the Windows deployments, but it can. At this moment you can use Razor to deploy a Windows environment, but it's 1.0 for Linux deployment. So.
And 0.1 for Windows, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's not yet fully supported to run your Windows deployments with Razor in production environments.
Yes. So the first thing I want to present is Razor. Razor uses a microkernel with Pixie to perform the first
boot image.
Boot image, indeed. Razor starts with the discovery. The new machine boots up, and Razor will boot with the microkernel, and will start with tagging. Well, it will discover what hardware is inside, how many CPUs, how many memory is inside, what's the MAC address, and many more things you can read out of the hardware. The next thing Razor does is tagging. So you can tag each and every discovered thing from the hardware. You can tag that. So you can say, I want to know what the memory is, I want to know what the CPU is. And then it creates a policy to start with the provisioning. You can say, when I have 2 CPUs and 512 gigs of memory, then I want to provision it as an VMware host or something like that. If it's 1 CPU and only 64 gigs, I want it to be a web server or anything like that. You based on the tagging, Razor will match it with the policy you created and start the provisioning. So the only thing you have to do is you go to your data center, you install a Razor server, and
It can dynamically ensure that the right image is provisioned to either hardware or virtual machines, right?
The only thing you have to do is plug in the hardware, give it power, give it network, and based on policies, it will start with provisioning. So you don't have to manually assign every server to a provisioning policy. Razor does it all by itself. So the first time you have to script it, it takes a lot of time probably, but when you've done that, you can use it.
Yeah, we can be up and running in no time.
Well, yeah.
At least that's what you tell me.
Indeed.
So basically what Razor does is it allows to get the correct characteristics of a physical or virtual machine, and based on those that information, trying to get the easy words, based on that information, it can tag or basically group your hardware and virtual machines.
Yeah.
That allows us to create very straightforward policies that will automatically deploy the right image to the right kind of hardware. So if it's a physical machine with a lot of memory and a lot of CPUs, then it will probably be a hypervisor.
Yeah.
And we can distribute the hypervisor image to that machine and ensure that we just have to plug in the hardware into our data center and have our hypervisor or virtualization layer up in no time, because we're having the right images, and we can configure it later on through the Puppet agent that is pre-installed on it as well.
Yeah. At the end of the Razor deployment, Razor will connect it with the broker, and the broker is the Puppet master, and Puppet master will go further with the process, and the Puppet master is I will tell you later what Puppet exactly does, but you have to understand what the process is. First Razor, then broker, then desired state configuration. Well, I hope you can see this. This is more
Is it readable?
graphics. Can you guys read it?
Visioning I can read, yeah.
Or otherwise just there is still room in the front row, so no, just kidding.
So the first image is when you power on your the hardware. It tells here that
Oh, you cannot even read it.
read it myself. That this machine has 4 CPUs, 16 gigs of memory. Here the node is tagged. You see tag A and tag B. Well, the tags are based on the processor and the memory. The next thing, Razor chooses a policy which matches the tagging. And the third thing is it will deploy a Windows machine with Puppet agent.
So now we have our bare metal deployed.
Yes. The next thing, Razor does connect it with the broker. The broker is the Puppet master, and the Puppet master will can also tag it. So if based on the host name, based on several things. With Puppet you can install software. You can desired state configuration does it.
Well, we're up and running. So now basically what we discussed is that with bare metal deployment, I'm just doing a basic image to my servers. How am I going to ensure that it's customized for that specific server. And that's where Puppet comes in and allows us to set different configurations for each server in our entire infrastructure.
Yeah,
so each ESX hypervisor host has to have a unique name. How am I going to ensure that? Puppet can help us through scripting to ensure that the name is unique, or that it is following a specified name convention. Yeah. So that's where it's not just Razor doing your basic imaging and making you have to maintain different images for each different flavor that I want to deploy. But with Puppet, it allows us to keep our image database in check and make sure that we have the least amount of images and do our customization through the scripting.
Yes, so the Puppet agent is installed. And the Puppet agent is basically smart enough to do basic commands. So you have a Puppet agent for Linux, for Windows, for Mac OS X. So you can manage all three of the biggest,
the most popular,
most popular OSs. So Puppet agents can do the basics, but you can also run PowerShell scripts or basic Windows command line scripts. So when you have scripted a lot of PowerShell to complete something, you can also use those scripts to put in your Puppet environment and let Puppet do the execution of it. That I will show you.
I think this is the moment where I was supposed to be at the computer, right?
Well, I can click it myself.
Because I was going to be the assistant, but somehow I'm still in the spotlight.
So, this is a class, and within the class, this is a class to deploy a Citrix environment. So you can, as you can see, you can everything is on false. SQL is true. So if you run this, only SQL Server will be installed. It has some basic. It's very basic scripting. It installs the required framework and the command to do the installation. Here you have the parameters. So I will do the pause.
Is it readable or?
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking to make sure, because he explained it all to me and I was still trying to keep up with all the information that was going on the screen. So.
Yeah, so it starts with a class. In the class you define what it has to do. You can give several parameters with it because this is I use the native version of PowerShell. This is version 1.0, but if you want to use 4.5 or anything else, you can change the parameters or you can.
Yeah, we put in the PowerShell for use, Carl. Now, basically, what he explained to me is that he made sure that he's using PowerShell 1.0 because that's native, available on each and every system.
Yeah.
So we're not dependent on some prerequisites that have to be maintained in the image, in the basic image that we are deploying. So this way. Yeah, I took notes yesterday.
Awesome.
So this way we know we can use these PowerShell commands for sure. And then every prerequisite that we need to get in place, we can do that through the PowerShell 1.0 commands and build up from there. So if we need PowerShell 4, then we'll be able to do with the PowerShell 1 script. Ensure that 4 is available and then continue with all the other tasks that we are defining in our Puppet class.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you have a difference in PowerShell commands. So the import manager, or server manager, is 2008.
Yeah, but you all classes. Well, if you have a 2008 or 2012 or 2016, it depends on the version you are want to deploy. But
install Linux features and
Yeah, so in case we are not able to rely on the PowerShell 1 version, we still have the option within Puppet to ensure that the host is in a different host group and have a different class connected to that group. So we can differentiate if needed.
which installing the requested the pre-requested PowerShell version. Yes.
Yeah, just wondering, what OS do you think has natively PowerShell 1.0?
Uh-oh.
Because actually all versions of PowerShell have a folder name called 1.0.
yeah, that's
But there doesn't exist any OS which has 1.0 installed from the beginning.
So this was the trick question.
Ah.
So like Windows XP has 2.0, Windows Vista has 3.
So we'll have to differentiate, basically.
But they always have 3.1 in the folder name.
Well, I don't think we have to.
Yep.
It's 4, and then you need to install 3.
I mean, 4 is installed. Folder name is still.
Yeah, the folder name is always the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, okay.
Well, what I want to like to say is that you define what version of PowerShell you want to use. Well, it's not about what basically is in the version of Windows. You define what you want to use. So if you want to, it's 3.0, you use 3.0. Yeah, that's what your environment is. This is just an example, but it's not about
But
native.
it's good to keep in mind that we
yeah.
have to check which version is natively installed on the OS.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for
Well,
correcting me on that
I
one.
don't think any system has 1.0 these days.
No, but I like the idea, so
Well, you could check what OS you're on, and based on the OS you can select the version of PowerShell. So you can make the scripts intelligent for that. So.
thank you. Any more questions on how Puppet works, or did we explain it correctly? Or are you still trying to process it? Because I know it's still early and it was a good party yesterday.
So. This comes later. This is a short thing for the desired state. This ensures that the service Citrix licensing is running. Now we're going to Foreman. The Foreman is the web interface for the open source version. In the Foreman, I'm going to.
But basically it allows us to have a GUI for our Puppet interface,
Yeah.
because the enterprise version does have a web interface for Puppet available, but the open source didn't. So I explained to Hendrikus that I need to have some visual feedback.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm one of those people that like Windows and clicking.
In the Foreman, you import the just created class, the class Citrix. Citrix is imported now, as you've seen, and now I'm connecting the smart variables. The variables which are false. You've seen I set it all to false, but you want to overrule that, because some hosts are licensing service, some hosts are storefront, some. You get the picture.
Yeah, what he did was introduce additional variables into the Puppet class script that he built that allows us to use Foreman to override the default value that was in the class. So what he did on purpose was ensure that each variable in his script was given the false statement by default to ensure that it's not installing components that we do not need. And this allows us to define or configure in Foreman which Citrix component we want to have installed on that specific host.
Yeah.
So that allows us to, based on the host groups that we are defining in Puppet, have a different group for the licensing server, the Citrix licensing server in this example, and ensure that only that feature or that module is set to true by overriding it through Foreman.
Yeah. So in this example, maybe you've seen it, I overruled the license server because in this demo I want to install the license server on a specific host. I overruled the license server from false to true. I submit it, and then I have to on this host, it's a Citrix server. I've now connected the disk, but it also can be a UNC path to the installation disk. And now the Puppet agent will get a configuration from the Puppet master, and on the Puppet master it sees that he has to install the framework needed 3.5, and then install the license server.
So basically ask the master, what classes do I have to perform?
Yeah.
And then it will perform all the scripted actions within that class.
So and after installation, the needed framework, it can install the license server. So it's going to do that now. Well, I cut and pasted. Yes. So it's installed, and I will show you that it's.
Just to make sure, I told him that we have to check if if Puppet the agent really performed the correct actions.
So you've seen, because the Puppet agent is running on that Windows machine, I connected the class to it, and now you've seen that only the Citrix license server was installed. If I go back to that class and I set another thing to true, you understand that it will be added the next time the Puppet agent is running. The Puppet agent is running every 5 minutes, so basically enough time, I think so.
Yeah, we can keep the environment very dynamic and making sure that if more capacity is needed, we can dynamically add that capacity.
So the Puppet agent is a get mechanism, it's not a force from the server?
It can either be push or pull.
Yeah.
That you can configure whether it's going to push the configuration or pull it.
Yeah.
But we'll explain that later on when we are getting to the desired state configuration. So be patient.
As you've seen, the Foreman is the place where you define the default configuration class. How does the machine has to look like? And the smart variables give you the opportunity to define within a class what it has to do. How do I say that?
Well, I think we discussed yesterday that the classes are kind of following a very strict pattern, so to say.
Yes.
I think it starts with getting all your variables and configuration settings in place, and then checks if a condition is met, and then it will perform the actions that are defined for each condition, if I'm correct.
So yeah, correctly. So if you define host groups, you can define on the host group what classes and what smart variables it has to have. So all licensing servers are added to a host group licensing service, host group for storefronts, host group, name it. And the only thing you have to do is later, if you add more servers, you add it to a host group and Puppet does the trick.
Did you see the trigger that we have 5 minutes
Yeah.
left?
That's why I'm,
Don't worry, we still have some slides to share.
yeah.
And we're gonna
In this-
reshuffle them now, probably.
I'm going to skip this demonstration. In this demonstration, I wanted to show you that basically all classes do not have to have smart variables, but when you use the format, you maybe want to use it because you want to override some default configuration. In this, in the last demo, I show you when you import what you have to do, how it's look like, and how you can override it.
Yeah, basically, I give him a hard time to make sure that he did have the proof for me that it was actually working, and that the smart variables are a very interesting and important addition to your Puppet configuration. So,
The former can monitor hosts.
yeah, that was,
That
what I
was
gonna say.
one of the
One of my demands.
My-
If you remember the life cycle management picture, I had monitoring in it, so I told him that, well, I need to make sure that we are doing the monitoring as well, because that is the one trigger that, or the one, I need a dashboard to show me that everything is up and running, and that the configurations that I have scripted are indeed performed, and the server is configured in the way that I have defined it.
Yeah, and when a host can't complete its configuration, what went wrong? So with the format, you can go to the host, you can get all the facts, all the configuration issues.
So I have
Also
all
the
my
good-
server information, and I have a, well, very nice looking dashboard. That's one of my criteria. I want to have an
graphics.
instant view and see whether or not alarm bells are going off and if I need to get into action. And I think this is one of the other very big phase in your lifecycle management, the management phase of your servers. Because it's not just about getting it up and running, but once it's up and running, you have to maintain it and ensure that it will keep up and running. And if trouble is around the corner, we have to have a proactive way of ensuring that it will be healthy server as quickly as possible.
So that's one thing that Puppet can do. It can provide you a self-healing infrastructure, because you can script it when that files are always the same, that services are always running, and when a service can't run, it can provide the good configuration or license file or anything else, and then try to start the service again, which gives your service desk well much more air because the system can heal itself.
Less calls from your users, so that's always a good sign.
Yes.
Basically, one of the, I think, very important assets of Puppet is the fact that it allows us to do desired state configuration, and it ensures us that the server is configured in the way that we intended to be configured.
Always, from the start to the end. Not only the script that you placed on the traditional installed server and then are trying to do that, but Puppet does it from start. The first time Puppet starts, it will start to get you to that desired state.
So it's not just provisioning a one-time installation or configuration through the scripts, but it allows us to a push or pull mechanism to ensure that the agent keeps checking every 5 minutes. I think that's the default
5
setting,
minutes,
right?
yeah.
Every 5 minutes it keeps checking whether the configuration is still the same. And if changes have been made to the configuration, it will push your original intended configuration that you defined in the classes back to the server. So that ensures that manual changes will be corrected, and I think that lessens your administration load on your infrastructure. And then there was something with scripting, I think.
The scripting part?
What was it? I think it was something called PowerShell.
Yeah, it's
And he was talking all about Ruby, but I didn't quite get that. But I think the PowerShell is something that I should learn.
yeah. Well, there are for Puppet community sites. Forge.puppetlabs.com gives you about 4,000 scripts at the moment for configuration of your. Yesterday
Yeah, you said something about Citrix NetScaler because you were
NetScaler.
still in that mode trying
That-
to convince me to get Puppet up and running.
Exactly. Yesterday they released a module to do a desired state configuration for your NetScalers. So when you use Puppet and configure it, you can also desired state your NetScalers, the ADCs, and yeah, many more. You have to look, but it can give you a good start with Puppet, I think.
So do any of you already work with the desired state configuration, either through PowerShell or different tooling? Or is that something that you stay away from because you're still not sure whether it's gonna help?
I do this, but the Citrix Command Center.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can, but that's basically for the NetScalers.
That's for the NetScalers.
Yeah.
Just for the NetScalers, but the Command Center is now, let's say, for all. It's not only NetScaler, it can have the Cloud Bridge and stuff like that. That's for
Okay.
all appliances. All the appliance stuff, and you can control it, and you can also script it. It's really powerful.
Yeah, because you're using the APIs for the NetScaler, correct? The Nitro.
The nitrate.
Yeah.
So.
So basically, getting back to the whole lifecycle management process, we matched each phase with the products that we used. I'm thinking there's going to be a hook and we're going to get a pulled off stage.
Yeah.
So, well, I know we didn't get to show you everything that we wanted with all the demos, but yeah, maybe you'll just have to take my word for it, but he did a very good job convincing me that Puppet or an open source tooling combination with Puppet and Foreman and Razor even to get even that bare metal deployment process in place does have a very interesting business case for enterprise environments as well, and making sure that we are getting a very easy and I think it's a very low level with the scripting to get it up and running. And there are so many examples already out there that it does have, I think, a strong business case to look into. So that basically was what we were trying to share with you today.
With open source, because the Puppet Labs does have an enterprise version where Razor and that sort of tooling is integrated, so maybe interesting. But
Can we do one or two questions, or or is the break already started?
Already finished.
Oh, already finished. Well, in that case, that's our cue. So thank you very much for listening.